We're now at step 5 of the Akiba restore process. This step is all about testing your new site to make sure that everything is working correctly and that the new site is exactly the same as the original site. This test is very simple. Use the handy links provided here to visit both the site's front end and back end and complete a visual inspection. Check for any errors or missing content. Check that everything is working and looks the same as the original site. And lastly, check that all your extensions and templates are working and they also look the same as before. Click on the first button to visit your site's front end. Make sure that all your links are working and all your images that you inserted are here, as well as the text content. This is a pretty straightforward small site, so it won't take long to make sure that everything looks exactly the same as it did before. Make sure your logo is there. Then go back to the Kickstart Core Restoration and Cleanup page. Click on the second button to visit the site's back end. Add your username and your password for your administrator. You'll get this information from when you wrote it down during the restoration. Some students have problems with this one. In their excitement of doing the restoration, they forget what information they added for their admin username and password. Usually, if you can successfully access your back end and you get no errors or other problems, that's the best sign that your restoration worked perfectly. Go ahead and check your content. Make sure all your articles are there. Check your components, your modules, and also your templates to make sure everything is there as it was before. Spend a few minutes just poking around, and if you do run into any issues or problems, it'll usually be pretty obvious. So if everything looks good here in the back end, again, that's a great sign that the restoration went perfectly. Now, if you do have problems, either with the front end or in the back end, or if something's not working correctly after the restoration, click right here for the troubleshooting instructions. This will take you to the Restoration Troubleshooting Instructions page. Here, you'll find a list of common types of problems encountered after the restoration process completes, and some suggestions for how to fix them. I'll get to this list shortly, but before you dive into this documentation, first try all of my quicker and easier solutions here. I've used the Akiba backup software myself hundreds of times over the years, and with my students several hundred times more. Although it can be a bit tricky to get it working right the first few times, most backups and restores work without any problems. When I do encounter problems, they're usually pretty easy to fix. First, try changing browsers. You should have a variety of browsers on your computer. Keep them up to date, and if you experience problems or errors following the steps outlined in these last few tutorials showing you how to restore a website, try using a different browser. When preparing this course, in fact, Angie froze several times in Google Chrome, but everything worked perfect when I switched over to Firefox on my Mac. Use binary transfer mode when transferring your files up to your host. Use your host file manager or an FTP client using binary transfer mode to make this transfer. 3. Try restoring to the same server. Sometimes differences in server configuration causes your site restoration to fail. You can discover this easily by restoring your site to another folder on your Bitnami server or on the same remote server. If everything restores okay, then you know your backup and restore process is fine and the problem lies with the server setup. Work with your host then to resolve the issues or start reading the help documentation provided by Akiba. If none of these quick fixes work, then turn to the Akiba help documentation. Start here with the troubleshooting instructions link on the restoration and cleanup screen, or step 6. Here's the URL to go directly to this page if you're not already on the cleanup and restoration screen. Here you'll find help for the most common problems encountered when restoring sites, including PHP errors, link errors, blank pages, menu errors, or links that take you right back to the old site before you did the restoration. You may have to go through more than one of these pages to solve your issue. If you're still not able to get your restoration working, or your problem is not included in this list, try following the advice on all of the troubleshooting instruction pages anyway. Next, see if you can find a solution by reading Chapter 5, Restoring Backups of the Akiba Backup Documentation on this page. If the error persists, click the Prev link or the preview link at the bottom of the troubleshooting instructions page to go back to the previous page. You'll read here that unfortunately your issue is probably server specific and cannot be dealt with through the troubleshooting or help documentation. Direct access to your server will be required to solve most of these types of issues. If you're a subscriber, you can file a support request and someone will provide you with one-on-one help resolving the issue directly right online on your server. At the time of this recording, a 1-year support subscription was €40. I found the Akiba support system to be outstanding, and they are usually able to resolve your issues pretty quickly. Given the importance I place in regularly backing up and restoring your sites, this is money very well spent. If you do purchase a subscription and submit a support ticket, indicate that you have gone through all the items on the troubleshooter list and provide as much detail of your problem as possible, including the Akiba backup version number. Latest is not a version number, something like 3.2 will be. Provide the exact PHP version number and the exact MySQL version number. Find these version numbers in the Joomla backend on the control panel homepage here under Site Information. That will then conclude this lesson on how to restore a website using the Akiba backup extension. This lesson provided a step-by-step demonstration of the 5 steps involved in restoring a website. Step 1 was to create a backup. Step 2 was to move the restore files to a new location. Step 3 was to create a new database user, and a user password. Step 4 was to run the kickstart.php file to begin the restore process and follow the instructions in your browser. And step 5 was to test your site back-end and front-end to make sure that everything is the same as the original website. You also learned some standard troubleshooting procedures that I follow when I do run into problems restoring my websites, and the places to look in the Akiba backup documentation to fix any problems that you may encounter. Let's move on to the next lesson and learn how to keep your Joomla site safe and secure and properly maintained.